nice and feeling strong. I designed this specifically for you out there who wants to get a full lower body workout in with no equipment needed. We will be doing a circuit of exercises for 4 rounds. In each round, the version of the exercise will become more challenging. You always have the option to stay with the version from the previous round. If something is really challenging for you, don't let it discourage you. It's a great goal to be able to work up to that version of the exercise. We're going to start with some simple calf raises to warm up. Press firmly into your toes and raise your heels. Keep the knees straight, and we'll do 10 of these. Remember that your feet and your ankles are involved in almost everything you're doing, so calf raises can be an essential part of the warm-up. Now I'm going to turn and I'm going to move into leg swings. I can use the wall for assistance, and I'm just swinging my leg back and forth, just trying to loosen the hip and get all the muscles of the legs ready to work. Think about trying to let the hip really just relax here and just getting good motion of the leg. As we switch sides, we'll do 10 more. And I want to ask, how are you doing today? How are you doing right now? I think it's really important to check in with yourself before a workout, so then you can compare to how you're feeling during the workout and how you're feeling after the workout. In my opinion, your workout should make you feel good and empowered, so you can check in with yourself to make sure that those are the ways that you're feeling. And we're going to move into some squats. Move your feet about shoulder width distance apart, and we're going to squat the hips down as low as we can go. Notice that I let my knees track outward and do not let them collapse in. I place my hands in front of me to counterbalance my body, and I try to smoothly sit down as low as I can go. Now, if you have trouble getting your hips down below your knees, I want you to pause the video, go get some books, and place them under your heels. We've all probably done squats at some point in our life, but I want you to really focus on making these high quality squats. We're not rushing through these. Pretend that someone's filming you to put you in a YouTube video that thousands of people are going to see. Make it a form of art. And this will be our last rep, number 10. Check in and see, how does this 10th rep feel versus the first? It should feel deeper and stronger. Now, as always, if you need to fix your man bun, go ahead, and we're going to move into our next exercise, which is the hip hinge. The squat uses a lot of quad strength, and now we'll be switching the focus to the backside, the hamstrings and the glutes. Slightly bend the knees. Place your hands on the back of your head, and we'll bend the torso forward until we are parallel with the ground. Now drive the hips up and forward to finish the movement. We will do 10 of these, making sure that our back stays in a neutral position. We don't want to flex the spine. We also don't want to over-exaggerate the arch. We want the spine to be neutral and strong. This will make the hips work as they should. And when you really dial in all of the alignment, you should feel the hamstrings and the glutes really driving this movement. The hip hinge will work that backside, and it might get you a nice booty, but it also will ensure that your hips and back are strong and you won't have back pain. So this will be our 10th rep. I like to just pause at the bottom for a few seconds, finish the movement, stretch it out, relax for a second. You can shake your body a little bit, see how you're feeling. And now we are going to move on to the ground. So I'm going to grab my socks and put them on, because you're going to need your heels to be able to slide on the ground. So any hard floor, carpet works great. Just as long as you're pretty much not in dirt or on cement, you will be able to do this. Lie down flat on your back, bend your knees, and dig the heels in. Now you're going to raise the hips up off the ground, and you're going to straighten one leg out at a time. Now you're going to slide the heel and make sure that you're pressing the heel down into the ground throughout this full movement. The other thing that's critical is that we keep the hips raised up. Do not let the hips fall down. You should be pushing them up towards the sky throughout the full movement. Now we're going to do 10 of these on each leg, and if you're anything like me, these start out, okay, these are no big deal, but by about halfway, the hamstrings start screaming at you. But guess what? I'm here for you. You're here for you. We're going to do this together. So keep those hips raised up. Slide that heel out until that leg's completely straight, and then pull that back. You can really press your shoulders firmly down into the ground. And last rep on each leg. And we got it. Whew. 10 on each leg. That is a lot. Go ahead and chill for a moment. At any time, if you want to pause the video and take a little bit more break, that is completely... I always tend to move a little fast between these exercises, and there's no shame in taking a break because we want you to be recovered and be able to do these movements with really high quality rather than rushing through things. And if you can't tell, I did a little freeze frame right here to give us a little more break. Tricks of the trade. It's time for the donkey kick. So start on your hands and knees. Get yourself very stable. Keeping the knee bent, you're going to lift the heel to the sky. Pause for a 1 to 2 count and back to the starting position. What I like to think about is letting the front side of the hip open up. That's going to cause the glute to work and that butt to really squeeze. Other than that, this movement's pretty straightforward. So as most things today, we're doing 10 reps. I'll pop back in and tell you when to switch. Ha, just kidding. Another thing I want to tell you is to keep some tension in your core muscles so your lower back doesn't extend too much. We want the movement to come from the hip and not the back. And we have our last rep. Squeeze that butt and relax. Okay, take a second before we switch sides. All right, so come on back down. We are going to hit this other hip. And by the time you hit 10 reps, you should feel a lot of fatigue in the side of the butt that we are working. So if you're not quite getting that much fatigue, then I recommend just doing a little bit longer of a pause. But most likely 10 reps with a 1 to 2 pause will get those glutes burning. And relax, chill out, or celebrate like I am right here. I'm super happy because we made it through the first round. Yes, that was round 1 done. How are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Do you have 3 more rounds left in you? Well, if you don't, that's okay. You can just do as many rounds that feels good to you. I want you to hop into a split stance position, like so. This is going to be a split squat. We're starting at the top. We're going to lower down right before the knee touches the ground. We pause for 1 to 2 seconds, then bring the knee all the way to the ground, then squat yourself back up. We're only going to do 6 of these because these are pretty intense, especially with the pause. I want you to keep tension in both legs equally, so the back leg works just as much as the front leg works. This is also going to be stretching your hip flexors, which is great to get a little flexibility work while we're strengthening the quads and glutes. This is the last rep. Hold, drop, squat yourself back up. Shake it off a little bit. These are hard. Let's go ahead and switch up our stance to work the other side. Now notice that I'm keeping my hips squared straight away. Okay, we don't want any twisting out of that back hip. So we lower down, pause before the knee touches, and then go ahead and touch that knee and squat yourself back up. The hip should be moving straight down, straight up. Let's hit 3 more reps. You got this. Yes, we did it. Awesome job. You can shake your legs out or don't, but I feel like my legs like to be shaked. Sometimes I like to kind of hit the muscles that have been working just to give them a little blood flow, I guess. I don't know if that's very scientific, but we're going to move back into our hip hinge. This time we're going to keep the knee locked out. We're going to put our arms overhead and we're going to try to get to that parallel position again. Now that your knees are locked out, you're going to feel a big stretch in those hamstrings. And for you guys that are really tight, you might not be able to make it to parallel, and that's okay. But that's our goal, to get that torso to parallel and to really reach our arms overhead like you're trying to reach out in front of you. That was 5 reps. I'm going to do the next 5 reps facing you so you can see from this angle, and we'll speak soon. And last rep here. You guys know I always like to pause on the last rep. So we're going to hold for, oh man, it's a longer pause than I thought. Okay, maybe 5 seconds. Good. Up and relax. Awesome, guys. We made it through the hip hinge section. Now I'm going to throw my socks on and we're going to move back to those hamstrings. So you're going to get comfy on your back, and like I said, each variation is going to get stepped up as we go through the rounds. This one we're going to use both of our feet, and we're going to do the negative portion. You lift the hips up, you push the feet out, keeping your hips extended and high until your knees are straight. Then you can lower the hips down. Now these are going to be pretty intense. They're much harder than the first variation, and you might be able to guess what's coming in round 3. But for now, push those feet out, keep your hips up high, drive your shoulders into the ground, and just enjoy that hamstring pain that's going on right now. It's a good pain. We're working those hammies. A lot of the time, our hammies don't get worked. We sit on them all day long in the chair. They become stiff. They become weak. We need those hammies to work well, to make our hips work well, and to protect the knee as well. Last rep, and relax. You might just want to take a quick nap. And if you do, like I said, you can always hit pause. But I'm going to hop up here, and I thought I'd leave this in. This was quite funny. So Skittles the cat kind of getting in the way of the camera, you know. So I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm going to take you inside. I take him inside, but then I realize, oh, the door has to be left open for this other camera. So he literally just follows me right back out, and he's probably looking at me like, okay, dude, what was the point of that? And we move into the final exercise of the circuit, which is the glute work. And we're going to hit the side of the glute, which doesn't get trained enough. So this is a fire hydrant. Literally, we're in the same position as the donkey kick, but we're lifting the knee directly to our side instead of behind us. So as you do this, you should feel the side of your hip light up. And a good goal is to try to get your knee as high as your hip. Now, we don't want to rotate too much. We want to keep the hips pretty square, and that's going to cause the glute muscle to work a lot more. So Skittles is kind of exploring the caves that are my legs and arms here. And as always, I like to pause for a 1 to 2 count to really tighten up that muscle. And we're doing 10 reps as usual. Beautifully done. Relax for a moment as we switch sides. How's this feeling for you? How much are you able to open up that knee? I find that this side of the hip muscle, which is called the glute medius, is a very important muscle for hip function and to protect the knee. But it's something that sometimes gets weak because we don't move our bodies side to side that often. So this movement is super, super important to keep your body healthy and functional. And that is 10 reps. Awesome job. I want you to rest. I want you to recover Focus on getting some deep breaths in. We are moving into this third round, and the third round is the most intense. After this third round, my hips and legs were feeling pretty toasted in the best way possible. Like they got just enough work to get stronger and to grow some muscle. So now you're going to take a longer stance than the previous split squat. You're now going to push the front knee forward as much as you can, and you're going to try to keep your back knee as straight as you can. You're going to feel a big stretch in your back hip, and you're going to be pressing that knee as far forward to use as much ankle range of motion as you have. Keep your torso upright. This is one of my favorite exercises because we're developing strength and mobility in the lower body at the same time. Good bang for your buck exercise. And on this last rep, let's go ahead and pause here for 5 seconds. Just sitting in nice and deep, trying to be strong but also relaxed, and press yourself back up. Okay, great guys. That was 10 reps. Go ahead and relax for a second while we switch to the other side. Be very mindful of what's going on in your body. It's not uncommon to be a little bit asymmetrical in something like this, where on one side you can get really deep and on the other side maybe you can't quite get as much range of motion. Now, don't worry too much. That's completely normal. But I think what's important is to put more attention and love into that side with limited range of motion. Be mindful and see how you can maybe start to reach the same depth that you're reaching on the other side. And on our last rep, let's pause at the bottom for about 5 seconds. Try to straighten that back knee, get deep, but also stay relaxed, stay connected with your breath. And press back up. Awesome. Split squats are done. Clap it up. Now it's time to move into our hip hinge variation, and we will do a single leg deadlift. So single leg becomes more challenging because now we have the component of balance and stability. So you're going to pick which leg you want it to be your working leg. You're going to pick the other foot up, and as you hinge forward, you're going to let that leg travel backwards. Now keep the knee slightly bent, and we're going to try to get that torso to parallel once again. It's very important on these that we keep that spine neutral, and notice that I'm keeping my eye gaze down in order to keep my neck in alignment with the rest of my spine. Also remember to be very strong through the foot. Really press the toes down and grip the ground with your foot. That's going to make the rest of the body stronger. And for these, we will do 8 on each side. This is the last rep. I'm not gonna pause at all. Yeah, don't worry about the pause on this one. You can turn around or just switch to your other leg. Now, if you're having trouble with keeping your balance, don't worry, that's completely normal. And what you can do is just put your hand on the wall beside you. There is no shame in just using a little bit of assistance from your hand, and over time you can try to lessen your touch on the wall until you're ready to use no assistance at all. And that is our final rep of this single leg deadlift. Awesome. Those are really challenging. Like I said before, the balance plays such a big component there. So it's not only strength, but you have to kind of learn that balance over time. So that's usually why if you're doing this for the first time, you're not going to be great at it. It's also a skill that you need to practice. So the more you do this routine, the better you will get at those, and you won't feel so shaky like the wind can knock you over. So let's move back into our hamstring curl, and As I hinted at last time, now we're doing the full hamstring curl. Straighten the legs, gliding the heels along the surface, and then pull them back. Now it's challenging to keep your hips raised up in the air, but you can do it. I'm putting my hands on my hamstrings just to palpate those muscles, make sure they're working. So I did 4. We're going to do 10 total, but I'm taking a little rest here, and I recommend you doing the same. Doing 10 unbroken is pretty challenging. So I'm going to do another 4 here. And now I'm going to take another quick break. As you can see, I signal to the camera, we got 2 more. We got 2 more. Yo, we only got 2 more. I know these are killer, but we're going to finish them up. 1, and let's hit this last rep. Yes, keep those hips high. Boom, we're finished. Chill out. Just be dead for a second. Really feel how much you worked your hamstrings there. Trust me, most people are not working their hamstrings in the correct way, and just feel super grateful right now that you are, and it's going to make your whole body work better, function better, feel better. And as promised, we get a little more intense in this glute exercise on the 3rd round. This is a fire hydrant kick or just a kneeling side kick. So we move to that fire hydrant position. When we reach as high as we can, we extend the knee to kick that leg out directly to the side. Make sure that you straighten your knee all the way in that last position. That was 4. We're going to do 4 more. Great job. These are super challenging, but like I mentioned before, that side of the hip is very, very important, and we are putting in the work there. So let's go ahead and switch sides. Lift that knee directly to the side and then extend that knee straight. Pretend like you want to kick something that's directly beside you. Alright, that was 10. Great job, guys. Feel the sides of your hip. You know that you just worked those. Okay, now that was the end of round 3. And that was the toughest round right there. So be happy that you made it over the hump. Now, I mean this with all seriousness. Take a second to be proud of yourself. You guys see how I dance around all the time? It's because I'm celebrating, man. This feels good to work out. It feels good to challenge yourself. Round 4 only has 3 movements. It'll be our shortest round, and these movements are high in complexity. They are going to be the most challenging, and if there's anything that you can't do, treat this as a goal. This is why you're training those first 3 rounds, to get stronger so you can do these movements in the 4th round. This is the shrimp squat. I'm going to squat down on one leg, and I'm going to touch my back knee down to the ground before my foot touches. I'll set my shin down, rest for a moment, then pick my foot up and squat myself back up. It looks simple, but it's very challenging. Make sure to reach your arms forward and really push that front knee forward. We need to use that quad a lot to be able to do the shrimp squat. And these just take some time to develop the technique and the strength. So we're going to do 5 reps. This is 3. Let's do 2 more. Awesome job. shake it out, take your time in between these legs here. Challenging, right? Pretty humbling. If you are able to do these perfectly, then wow, you're a champ. I got a lot of respect for you. So now we're going to do the other leg for 5. Awesome. That was 5 reps. How are you feeling after those? Were you able to complete those? If not, that's the goal. In a month, we're going to be able to do those. So we're going to move to our last hip hinge movement. This I like to call a single leg good morning. We're going to keep the knee straight like we did earlier, but we are going to do it only on one leg. So we pick up the opposite non-working foot and we leave it right next to the other foot. Then we hinge our torso down like we've done in all the hinge variations. We try to get to parallel, keeping that neutral spine, and we return to the top. This here is rep number 4. We're going to do a total of 8 reps. I'll see you in 4. And last repetition. Great job. So these are more challenging than the single leg deadlifts because you don't have your other leg going behind you to counterbalance you. It's also a huge stretch on the hamstrings, especially if you have stiff hamstrings. These are great for improving hamstring flexibility and strength at the same time. So let's switch legs and we'll do another set of 8. Awesome job. That was 8 reps down. You are done with your hip hinge, and we only have one more exercise to go for the final round, the final exercise. And all we're doing is a glute bridge. This is just to burn out the glutes and really fatigue those butt muscles. So simply just laying on your back, your feet planted firmly into the ground, and you're just squeezing your butt, lifting your hips as high as you can. We're going to do anywhere from 20 to 30 repetitions here. And from here, I just want to say you're almost 30 minutes in. This was a killer leg workout. And I hope that you feel very good, and I hope that you feel very empowered. And I also hope that you find some things that were quite challenging for you, and it gives you a reason to want to come back here and want to keep doing this, because all of these things you can get better at. I'm your teacher, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that I have these mastered, because I don't. Every time that I do these, I can find a way to get a little bit better at it, to use a muscle a little bit stronger. And if you take that beginner's mindset into these, then you can use this follow along for years to come. You can keep mastering your body. And I believe this is a very empowering way to look at it, because there's always something to do. You can always improve on something, and that's what makes life fun. And right now, what I want you to do is I want you to feel proud of yourself. This was an intense leg workout. And if you made it here to the 30-minute mark, then you really, really just did some good things for your hips and your legs. Now, I always like to shake after I work my legs intensely. Actually, after I work any muscles intensely. I know it looks funny, but animals do shaking a lot when they experience trauma, and I think that this really helps down-regulate your system. So you just spent a lot of time in your sympathetic nervous system. Let's shake it out, get us relaxed, get us down to parasympathetic nervous system, so we can start recovering and making gains from this workout. Thank you for letting me